A trip to Oregon would not be complete without seeing the Oregon Dunes. The Oregon Dunes are big sandy areas that stretch roughly between Florence and Coos Bay. Now, half a year ago, I knew basically nothing about the Oregon sand dunes, so everything in this video is just stuff that I dug up from the internet. There are three big areas of sand dunes. Just south of Florence is the South Jetty Dune City area. Just north of Coos Bay is the Horse Falls Spin Reel area. Sandwiched in the middle on the north side of the Umpqua River is the Winchester Bay area. There are a number of guided tours available, and you can rent ATVs or dirt bikes from many different places along Highway 101. I did that many years ago, but this time we're traveling with young children and grandparents, so ATVs are a little too much excitement. So I got the idea from YouTube that maybe we would just do some self-touring in our family van. Nothing too intense. What could possibly go wrong, right? My van is a 99 GMC Safari. Originally, it was an all-wheel drive, but I did the 4x4 conversion so I can manually choose between 2-wheel drive, 4 high, or 4 low. It isn't really lifted, and it doesn't have big tires, and it is a really old van, so I am quite aware that this is not the best car for the job. Anyways, our first stop in Oregon was Fort Stevens near Astoria. At the beach, there's an access point. I saw a number of trucks and SUVs driving along the beach. Coming from Alberta, Canada, I've never really driven on sand before. A lot of snow, but not sand. I thought I would take the opportunity to test out my van's sand driving ability, so I threw it into 4-wheel drive and took to the beach. What I found was that even without airing down the tires from 35 psi, it drove very easily on the beach as long as I drove where other cars had been. Near the top of the beach, it started slipping a bit in the softer sand. I drove until a ranger kindly told me that in summer, you can only drive on the south side of the Peter Iredale wreck before noon. So the next morning, we came back at low tide and had a blast. Windy.
Hello, everybody. Everyone having a good time?
Yeah.
A few days later, we arrived in Florence. Real sand dunes. I aired down my Yokohama Geolander tires to 14 psi and threw it into 4 low mode. Leaving from South Jetty OHV staging area, I just wanted to do a small loop to get the feel of things.
Let's watch.
Oh, we are on the soft sand now.
Now, there are a few things you need to have when you're driving on the dunes. First, you need to have an ATV permit for the Oregon Dunes. You can get one online for $10 and it works for 2 years. 2 other required items are a 2-pound fire extinguisher and a flag that reaches 9 feet above the ground. If you are parking another vehicle at the staging area, then you'll need some kind of recreation pass. Other things that I brought with me are shovels, traction boards, recovery strap, hitch shackle mount, soft shackles. I didn't have a winch, but I brought a heavy-duty ratchet strap to use in a pinch. And finally, drinking water, in case I need to do any amount of digging. I thought my first excursion into the dunes went pretty well. With the tires aired down, I didn't feel at all like I would get stuck, and I was able to go up and down slopes. Not the really steep ones, but enough to get around. Bolstered with confidence, the next day I took my father-in-law, my kids, and niece and nephew on a longer ride. And that's when I got myself into a bad situation. We had ventured a good way in from South Jetty and we had turned around and were doubling back. In my hubris and inexperience, I underestimated the horizontal slope and the softness of the sand along the edge of this turn. As I tried to climb this hill, everything started sliding sideways and no amount of maneuvering stopped the sliding. I was in danger of rolling the van over into the ditch. Even when my left wheels were more than 1 foot from sliding down the ditch, I knew I was in some serious trouble. There were no trees nearby to tether to, so I told the kids to play in a safe spot and I started digging down the right side of the van to level it. But it just wasn't enough to stop the sliding. I don't have good pictures of this because, well, taking pictures was kind of the last thing on my mind. And then, in a godsend, a family with some ATVs and razors came by and offered to help. The 2 razors had winches but weren't heavy enough to pull the van out. After almost an hour of winching and the van tires aired down to 9 psi, we were out of ideas. In a final attempt, we put a strap on the B pillar of the van to keep it from rolling, and with a winch line on the back, we managed to drive the van out of the ditch. I'm so thankful for the time and effort and risk that this family spent to help us. After that, we just took it nice and easy back to the trailhead. When we got back, my wife was a bit worried because we had been gone for so long and we had this ridiculous story of how we almost rolled the van. But not everyone got to go yet, so I took my wife and mother-in-law for another tour. This time I was watching the camber of the terrain very carefully and looking out for loose sand and holes that I could slide into again. We stayed on the western half of the dunes, which was less hilly.
Don't go over that hill. Oh, what's on the other side of this hill? Okay, yeah, no, that's probably too steep. Oh my goodness.
This is
Okay. That would have been really bad.
A few days later, we were down in the Horsefall area near Coos Bay. From the Horsefall staging area, we did a few loops through the trees and over the dunes. My father-in-law wanted to drive some dunes too. He had a good time.
Oh boy.
All right.
Oh my goodness! Oh, we forgot that part. This is exactly what happened last time. George did it at full speed.
Oh my.
My wife asked me later if I regret driving on the dunes. That's a hard question. Any adventure is going to involve some amount of risk. Before going out on the dunes, I had acknowledged to myself that this could be the van's last adventure. The van may be totaled, along with an expensive recovery bill. There are risks that you know and risks that you don't, and to a certain degree you can prepare for them. But maybe the deeper question for myself is, why take the risk? Is there lasting value in the adventure that makes it worth it? The thing is, often you don't know until you embark on that adventure. Through this, what I experienced profoundly was the sense of being completely helpless to save myself from a problem of my own creation and to have someone else come to my rescue. Only by knowing the true depth of my predicament can I truly appreciate the value of being saved. Anyways, one thing that I noticed is nobody drives cars on the dunes. There are ATVs, dirt bikes, and side-by-sides, but no cars. Some trucks pull RVs and camp in the sand, but as far as I saw, nobody really drives around on the dunes with their truck or jeep. Maybe the risk of getting stuck or rolling over in a car is too high. Or maybe you can't really go fast enough or up the really steep dunes for it to be exciting. In any case, my kids had a good time. They got to see their old man not in control of the situation. I had some good bonding time with my father-in-law, and my wife, she's awesome. Not because she lets me do whatever I want, but because she trusts me enough to pursue these wild adventures. Well, it's time to pack it in for the long drive home. Lots of time to ponder the old adage, the foolish man drives his car upon the sand. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please click like or subscribe below.